السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم، أما بعد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وسارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض أعدت للمتقين. صدق الله العظيم. Today, inshallah, we'll focus our reminder on the fact that taqwa is for everyone. Taqwa is for everyone. Many verses in the Quran gives us this reminder. The very beginning verses of Surah Al-Baqarah remind us of this. And throughout the Quran, all the way till the end of the Quran, there are verses that remind us that taqwa is a foundational aspect of every single believer. There is no distinction. There is no separation. In other words, taqwa is not required just from a select group of religious people in Islam. That this group is known as the muttaqeen, but rather every single believer is demanded of this and required for all of us to strive towards achieving it. Other religions and other isms, they might have this separation or this polarization, such as, let's say in Hinduism, a certain group of Hindus might say regarding the consumption of meat, that rule does not apply to me because maybe I'm not a Brahmin. That only applies to Brahmins. Or in Christianity or Judaism, there are certain separations that are noticeable, but not in Islam. Examples of separation, say in Christianity amongst the Roman Catholic or the Eastern Orthodox, the Greek Orthodox, it is a noticeable separation. You can just see it when events take place throughout the year. The priests and the individuals considered in their religion as sacred people, they have a separate attire. There is a separate demeanor. There is a certain separation that is demanded from the congregation towards them. Not in Islam. Islam eliminates this polarization. And the point is emphasized heavily in the Quran, where taqwa and the different words used for taqwa is used plus minus 151 times in the Quran. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah. These verses are frequent in the Quran. وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. There is a certain verse in the Quran that tells us to choose between taqwa and the absence of living a life of taqwa. Such as أَفَمَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى تَقْوَى مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٌ خَيْرٌ أَمَّنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى شَفَا جُرُفٍ هَارٍ فَانْهَارَ بِهِ فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ. This verse tells us that to think and reflect and ponder that which type of life is better. A life which has foundations on taqwa, or living a life that is on the verge and on the edge of crumbling, absent of taqwa. So again, in every single aspect of our life, if we were to look at this topic of taqwa, we can even look at it as a race. It is a competition, after all, between each and every single individual, that who can excel in this race of achieving taqwa. Some individuals might get ahead in this race, while others might lag behind. So with the race of taqwa, obviously some people will develop more taqwa than others. Though we must remember that taqwa is a state of the heart also. And we cannot judge others for something that you and I cannot visually see. So it is natural and normal for us to recognize the differences and achievements of all of us who are participants in this race. We are all in it together. It doesn't matter whether we are from amongst the rich or the poor, the educated or the uneducated. It doesn't matter whether we are the leader or the follower, the preacher or the listener, the old or the young, the man or the woman. All of us must strive towards achieving taqwa. After all, the verse reminds us in the Quran that the most honored in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the believer with the most taqwa. This ummah is an ummah which is taqwa conscious. We are constantly reminded regarding about it. Without it, the best achievements in our life, they mean very little. While all this is obvious in principle, and in practice, many of us seem to have accepted the idea that the muttaqeen are a separate group of people. That rule does not apply to me personally. And this idea could be imported from other things that we witness day in and day out. As we mentioned in the beginning, some examples that we might witness in other religions and other isms. There's a certain separation between the religious and the general population. So we wanted to remind ourselves that this imported assumption, it's a false assumption, and we need to rectify ourselves. And we must remind ourselves that these rules and injunctions apply to each and every single one of us individually, as well as in the form of community as well. So what happens, there is the flip side to this as well, and that is when we attempt to separate it, there might be a group of people who rise up and they begin to consider themselves as self-righteous individuals. Meaning that they think of themselves as above the rest. Islam also reminds us of that category, that فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى. That be careful regarding self-righteousness, claiming self-righteousness. Because after all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best and the most knowledgeable regarding each and every single one of us in regards to this topic of taqwa. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from amongst the muttaqeen, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from amongst the group of people who practice amar bil ma'roof and nahi anil munkar. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. الحمد لله المطلع على خفيات السرائر العالم بمكنونات الضمائر مقلب القلوب وغفار الذنوب، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد المرسلين وجامع شمل الدين قاطع دابر الملحدين، صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد، فإن كون إصلاح السرائر دعامة لإصلاح الظواهر مما نطق به القرآن وسنة رسول الإنس والجان. وقد قال الله تعالى: ولكن قولوا أسلمنا. وقال تعالى: فإنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور. وقال تعالى: ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن في ذلك لذكرى لمن كان له قلب أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. إنه تعالى جواد كريم ملك بر رؤوف رحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد، أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر إخواننا في كل مكان. اللهم ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. عباد الله رحمكم الله. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Please fill in the gaps. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله 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 السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As a reminder, please protect yourself as well as the others by wearing a mask properly, and also use a prayer rug while you are coming to masjid for prayer. Inshallah, on January 28 and 29, there is a series of lectures being scheduled by Tawhid Center through Sheikh Hamza Maqbool, and the main